Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome everyone to the all-new AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everyone? I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, or just a wonderful week. It's been a little while since last time, hasn't it? Yes, as you could see, there has been a little bit of some changes that have been going on, and a bit of an update that I have been working behind the scenes since the last episode. Trust me, I will get a lot more into it. And by the way, you can hear me fine, right? Just want to make sure that like everything in here is working well. But again, I will go and explain everything about the new changes that you are seeing here, on top of some other major significant changes that are going to be coming to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. On top of that, we also got some amazing stories that we will be covering, which will result into a fun-filled episode that will make this new AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast more memorable and also a lot more fun. And by the way, before we go and officially get this started, I've already made this announcement. Thank you for the subscription there. But anyways, as I was saying, before we go and officially begin this, I would like to go and make a quick announcement. Well, this is something that you've already known, but this is to go and say that on Thursday, October 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern, or starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, there will be a charity stream on my Twitch channel, AniMat Live. Yes, I've already done one before in March, and it turned out to be a massive success. But once again, I am going to be teaming up with Gamers Outreach to go and play a video game to raise money for charity. Now, last time I was just frustrating myself with Cuphead, but after I made a poll on my YouTube channel, the voice has been spoken. People have decided that I am going to play Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which during the weekend I did actually go and purchased, actually. I don't know if you could see it through the, I know the filter is just making it a little bit weird, but as you can see, I got the proof right over here that I do have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and I haven't played anything just yet. I will start from scratch when Thursday will happen. So once again, it is going to be on Thursday, October 26th at 8 p.m. on my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, where we will have a charity stream where I'm going to play Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to raise money for charity. Hopefully, we will go and repeat the same success that we had last time, where we raised $1,000. So let's just hope for the best, and we'll see what happens on Thursday. Okay, now with everything said, now with everything settled, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode and the new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Yes, okay. I see people are prepared. That is wonderful to see. And so, with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get this episode started. And with our first story that we have, well, it's not necessarily a story, but now I'm going to go and explain about what is going on with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. As you can see here, there's been a lot of changes going on, so it's time to go and answer the question, what's happening, Matt? What are you doing to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and what are these changes that you are alluding to? Are they going to be big changes? Are they going to be a lot that might be disruptive? Well, not necessarily. I will go and explain. First of all, I might as well go and talk about, well, if you are watching this, because I'm sure people who are listening might be a little bit confused as to what the fridge is going on. But the big thing to go and discuss about is what you see here with this brand new layout. Not only do you see right in the bottom over here, like all my social media plugs, but on top of that, you may have noticed that I am not in the same location as before. I am in my gaming room, in which I have my new streaming PC, or as I like to call it, my streaming PC, because the main use that I will be having with it will be for streaming purposes, not just for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but also for any future streams that I may have, whether it be bringing back AniMat Plays for the upcoming charity stream or for whatever streams that may come up. This is what I will be using for my future streams. And I can guarantee you that this is a much more powerful computer than what I've been using last time, because usually I would just go and use my Mac at my office. And that one, admittedly, like, it is a great computer, but it's not necessarily powerful enough for something like streaming. So one benefit with this is that I am hoping, but hopefully this is going to go to eliminate the frozen problem or any of those technical difficulties that I had in the past. You probably do remember sometimes during the middle of the episode, suddenly it would just freeze up, and then I had to go and reset everything to make sure everything is working again, which can get a little bit annoying, and it would throw off my groove a bit. So hopefully, now that I'm using a more powerful computer in order to go and stream AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, that will just be a thing of the past and everything will be running smoothly. So that is one major change that I would like to point out. But there is one other change that I have done, and this is not something that you would go and easily see, whether it be like with the layout or with what's behind me or anything like that. The big update that I have done is primarily on the focus of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Because you probably have noticed in the last episodes of the show, it was becoming a bit more difficult to try to maintain or to really keep it up. Like, especially when stories to go and discuss in the series are becoming more scarce and becoming more difficult to try to gather and stuff like that. And a lot of them end up becoming like insignificant updates and stuff like that. You know, it's not necessarily like major entertainment or animation news really worth discussing in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And I know some people might be bringing up some reasons as to why. Like, I just saw apparently one person in the chat says that the strikes could play a part of it. That could be true, but I'm not necessarily blaming anyone in here. But the big thing to go and emphasize is that it was becoming a bit more difficult to try to maintain the series on a weekly basis. And that is why you may have noticed in the recent episodes, it became more and more common that I would put out 4 stories instead of the usual 5. And I'm not saying that the last episodes were bad or anything like that. They were good, but there was just something about it that felt like there was something missing about it. You know, they were just good, and there was a part of me, like, considering that I am a bit of a perfectionist, I knew that it could be a bit better. And from there, unfortunately, I was kind of losing my spark for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, or to keep it continuing, because it was becoming more of a hustle, and it became more tiring and less rewarding to keep AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast going on a regular basis. So after the last episode, I had to stop myself and to think, what is it that is missing in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? What is it that's preventing, you know, what is it that's stopping me from letting this be a great series, and to and to bring back that motivation to keep it going on a regular weekly basis? You know, it was tough trying to figure out what was wrong. But then I realized, like, suddenly it just dawned on me after, like, thinking about it a bit, and the real issue is not necessarily anything in the show itself, but it was actually right in front of my face. And that was the focus of it. I was focusing on making AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast a weekly show instead of making it a great show. And there is a massive difference on that. I was just focusing more on trying to be consistent with the schedule instead of thinking about the quality of the series to really make each episode really stand out, really make it great, and make it a lot of fun for both myself and for you people, the audience, whether it be if you're listening to this or if you are watching this live or either on YouTube. So that is why I decided to go and change a little bit of the format, where I am now just going to be focusing on the quality much more than I am focusing on the consistency of the schedule. Now, I know that this might be a bit of a sacrifice and might be a bit unfortunate for some, because there are some people out there who love the consistency of like every week there is a new show, a new episode to, turn it into a tradition of sorts. But I want to go and change that up, where now I want to make sure that each episode turns out to be fantastic, that all the materials that I have are worthy enough to go and make a full, fun-filled episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And if the next week comes and if it doesn't meet my standards, then honestly, I'm just going to go and delay it to the next week. And whatever I saved up for that week, I'll see if I can go and save them for the next episode. So that's going to be one new thing, is that if there is something last week that I did miss out on from talking about, then there is a chance I'll carry that over to to the week after, so that I can actually go and bring it up. So one big sacrifice to all this is the fact that I will no longer be consistent. I will try to make this a weekly show, but I will let you know if it is the case or not that I'll have to delay the episode, or if there is going to be a show going on. And I'll let you know, like, on my social media platforms, like on Facebook, on Blue Sky, and also on Twitter, if Twitter is still going to be on in the future, because let's be honest, you never know what the fate of that platform is going to be. But with that said, though, that is kind of the major thing that I want to do, is going to be sacrificing the consistency of making it a truly weekly episode, and instead I want to make sure that the episode turns out great before we go and actually get into it. So there are going to be some times that it will come out weekly, but there can also be times that maybe it'll come out bi-weekly. So there is that possibility as well. But again, the main focus is just to make sure that each episode comes out great. And if in that week it doesn't seem like it's going to turn out to be great, or I don't have 5 great stories to go and talk about, then I'm just going to carry that over onto the next week so that we can have a proper discussion about that. You never know what the future is going to hold, especially with this strike that is going on, because I know that does play a significant factor as to why is it nowadays we're not getting as much animation or entertainment news that is going on, and especially with some of their regulations where as an not aspiring, but as an actual actor myself, I don't want to immediately go and talk about trailers, because they would consider that as scabbing. So that's why I am starting this immediately, to try this new format off. Especially when I did not go and do an episode last week. I know there have been some people who were a bit disappointed that I didn't do an episode last week, especially when it was on the day of Disney's 100th anniversary. I know it was a bit disappointing, but there was just a lot of stuff that was going on during that time. Not only was I trying to like fix up the new format, and I was also working on this new layout for all my future streams, but also on that day, I was out downtown doing a voiceover job That and my Mac was like really broken down and I need to send it to repairs. So on that day, there was already so much that was going on that it was pretty much necessary for me to delay AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, because then I would just end up with a massive burnout. There was just already too much on my plate as is. So that's pretty much the big thing that I want to go and explain about what is happening from here on out with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Now, the scheduling may not be as consistent as it used to be, but it will be a necessary sacrifice to make sure that each episode turns out to be fantastic. So that's the main thing I want to focus on. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all about your opinion, or if you have any additional questions regarding the new format with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. If there's something that you would like to say, or if you have any questions that you would like me to go and clarify, now is the time to go and do so. So let me know what you all think. Let's see now. I personally do like these new changes. I will admit that the last several episodes did kind of suffer a bit in terms of quality between the strikes, and causing a lack and still not able to talk about trailers will help in terms of the quality. Also, regarding the charity stream, I'm looking forward to it, but unsure if I'll be able to contribute as much as I did last time. I mean, just I know J Monty, I know you were like a major player in ranking in the cash for the last charity stream, but I mean, just give what you can. Honestly, I'm not asking people that you must go and you must go and try to make it like a massive success, but just do what you can. This is a charity. I'm not forcing anyone to do anything, so I just want to let you all know, especially when I want to focus on trying to make the stream as fun as possible, as much as I would like to go and raise money. Anyways, what else do we have here? Honestly, I'm all good with these changes. I'm all good with the change to the consistency, but I'm really digging this new layout. I mean, I love the fact I think there is a popcorn bucket from the Mario movie in the background. If there's one thing I'll miss about the layout, it has to be the AniMuppet. Is he still undergoing his existential crisis? Yeah, he is still, don't worry, he's still like in the same area where he is. But also, yes, actually, this is actually a popcorn bucket from the Mario movie. I know somebody who actually works in a Cineplex, and they actually got this for me. And for now, I'm just using it to put some of my Switch controllers. So yeah, like I tried to blur the background so that like the main focus is on me, because I know that what's behind me is like stupidly busy. So this is just so you get the attention more onto me. So that's why like I'm working with a blurred background right now, but it still makes things interesting behind me. All right. Anyways, what other comments do we have here? I think it's for the best that you actually do this new format. I think it's for the best that you take your time on the quality of the show. Also, out of topic, have you seen Daro's FNAF movie vlog? Freddy and the gang look very expressive. The Jim Henson Company did a fantastic job. No, I have not, honestly. I don't know if I've seen any of those. Actually, no. I mean, like, I haven't seen any videos in relation to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, so honestly, I can't really comment much on that. Let's see. What other comments do we have? Let's see. I gotta say, I'm good with these changes. Personally, I adore the new layout, as it looks much slicker than the one that used to be since 2018, and you can see more of the comment section. By the way, that Blue Sky logo is a perfect tribute to Ice Age and the original studio behind it. Blue Sky never dies. Ah, yes, thank you. I mean, technically, the social media platform Blue Sky doesn't have an official logo. Like, right now, they're just using clouds, I guess. But for Blue Sky, I decided, you know what, if we're gonna have a logo, I'm just gonna use an acorn as tribute to the animation studio. You know, honestly, that would be a fun thing to do, like to officially make the Blue Sky logo an acorn. Let's see if we can actually make that a thing. Let's see. I can understand that it is necessary for your own motivation, and I support it. I am adaptable with a change in routine, but I'm curious if it will still be on Mondays. Also, when doing voiceover work while SAG-AFTRA is on strike, be considered scabbing. Okay, no. Okay, so two things I just want to go and clarify on that. Number one, yes, it will still be every Monday, or I'll try to make it every Monday starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. Like, that is still going to stay. Now, one thing I cannot promise if it's going to be every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That might be something worth changing. Also, in terms of the voiceover work, keep in mind that I am Canadian. I am not part of SAG-AFTRA. I am actually part of SAG-AFTRA. Yeah, I am a part of ACTRA, which is the Canadian union, and they are not on strike. That is a completely different thing. That's why Canadian actors are still able to work during this time, while the actors in the US are on strike. So if I would go and do some voice acting work on a project that would be from a studio that is connected with SAG-AFTRA, then that would technically be considered scabbing. So just want to make that clarification. Again, folks, I am Canadian. I am not yet part of SAG-AFTRA, but I am part of ACTRA. Big difference. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we jump on to the next story. Let's see. Who would we have? I think I'll go with... yeah. All right, I'll go with this one. Overall, I don't have any complaints with the new format. You decide what you need to do for the benefit of your streams. I think most of us prefer quality over consistency, especially so that it means you avoid burnout. Also, to your old computer that buffers during the streams, I'm sorry, but you've thrown off AniMat's groove. Yes. Also, I want to say thank you so much for the compliments with the stream right over here. Honestly, it really does mean a lot that the hard work that I put into all this is already paying off and that you are all enjoying it. So that's already great news and already a confirmation that I have done something right so far. All right, so now we are going to go on to our first break. And when we do return, I know I've missed out on it last week, but I will go and make things up for it, even though I'll be a week late. But we will have a special little segment to honor the 100th anniversary of Disney. So stay tuned for that, folks. All right, folks, we are back. Now, the first story, or the first official story of this episode, we are going to be talking about Disney. As you may know, last week, specifically on October 16th, 2023, it is the 100th anniversary of not just the Walt Disney Company, but also of Disney Animation. And you probably have seen throughout the year, Disney has done several little things to go and commemorate the anniversary, especially when it comes to like little montage clips that you would find online. But what Disney decided to do, well, for the real anniversary, they created a little special. They decided to do one thing that would truly honor that 100th anniversary. And what they ended up creating was Once Upon a Studio. Yes, it was, well, the day before, on October 15th, in which they actually did the world premiere, well, not the world premiere, but they did the public premiere of Once Upon a Studio. And by the way, folks, I just want to let you know that I will be talking about the short in its entirety and like all the things that have been going on behind the scenes and what happened in the short as well. So just to give you all a little bit of a warning, if you have not watched it yet, please skip this part of the episode until you have seen it, because it will definitely contain a bunch of spoilers. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, yes, with Once Upon a Studio. For those of you who don't know, this is the animated short to go and commemorate the 100th anniversary. It has a simple little plot line in which all the Disney characters that have been created by the studio, including characters such as Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, and many, many more. In fact, literally hundreds more. They all come to life so that they could be in front of the building and they would all have this one massive group picture, as like the one that you see right over here. And yeah, it's basically this big reunion with all of these characters, from Snow White to their latest animated feature or their upcoming animated feature, Wish. Now, one thing that has been fascinating throughout the week, last week, there have been a whole bunch of articles, or I think it was from 2 weeks ago, like before the premiere. There were tons of different articles that would talk about the making of Once Upon a Studio. What is the journey that went to creating this animated short? Because from there, it was like the raving new piece of animation that everybody was just loving. Like, it's been such a long time since there have been an animated project from Disney, or it's been since Encanto, that there was this new piece from Disney Animation that everybody just fell in love with. Even the people who have been commonly cynical towards Disney, like, they really love this short. So this is the main thing that I want to do, is to go and make a short summary about the making of Once Upon a Studio, because it really is a fascinating story as much as what they did in the short itself. Now, this actually all started with two filmmakers at Disney Animation, Dan Abraham and Trent Corey. Now, they weren't necessarily a part of like the big teams. They're not necessarily the biggest names at Disney Animation, but they would be working on several different side projects, usually what would be found on Disney Plus, whether it be like Zootopia Plus or Baymax. But one thing that they have worked on together that really ignited their collaboration was Once Upon a Snowman, which was this animated short, a midquel to Frozen, that tells the story of Olaf from his inception during Let It Go to when he would first meet Anna and Kristoff. So they knew that they wanted to go and collaborate on a project together, and they realized that pretty soon there was going to be the 100th anniversary of Disney, and they really wanted to go and create something that would go and commemorate this occasion. So that's where they thought up of this idea of this mega crossover, possibly the biggest animated crossover since Who Framed Roger Rabbit, to have all the Disney characters, or at least like the majority of Disney characters across the entire 100 years of Disney, to come together so that they can go and take one group photo. And during that time, we see all the different little crossovers of a variety of different Disney characters, whether it be from the classics like Pinocchio, Snow White, Fantasia, up to like the modern stuff like Frozen, Raya and the Last Dragon, Encanto, Strange World, and even Wish. So they would have that mega crossover of everyone coming together. And they were trying to plan that out in secret and see if they would actually have an idea if it could legitimately work out. So from there, they pitched this idea to the chief creative officer at Disney, Jennifer Lee, to see if they got an idea if this could be something that could legitimately work out. So they pitched the idea, and Jennifer Lee had to walk out. She had to leave because she was crying. She was legit in tears of the pitch that they were receiving. And from there, Jennifer Lee came back, and after wiping her tears, she said that it needed to be done. She was so moved by the idea, and she just ignited. She said, go and make this happen. So during that time, and by the way, the first time that the pitch occurred was actually back in the fall of 2021. So this was a project that it was technically 2 years in the making, but the actual production itself didn't start until like, I would say at the beginning of this, well, not the beginning of this year. It was somewhere in 2022, because they said that the production was about 8 months in total. So during that time in the pre-production, especially, by the way, yes, I know like there's probably some stuff that I have to do in order to, make some adjustments with this new setting. Like as I am recording this, the people watching on Twitch, they did get an ad in the middle of this. I do apologize for that. I'll try to see if I could go and fix that up so that, that things will be working out accordingly. So again, I'm sorry if the ads were a bit unexpected, but anyways, back to what I was talking about with Once Upon a Studio. So so Dan and Trent, they were working behind the scenes, and they were working in secret in order to make things happen, to make this project happen. But then the word started to spread that there was this mega crossover project that was starting to happen, and more and more and more we start to see like these animators wanting to be a part of this. Oh, and thank you for the subscriptions right there. Thank you for Jay Monty is gifting the subscriptions. Thank you so much. But anyways, as I was talking about, yes, they were starting to slowly but surely animators wanted to be on board, because there is this idea that there's a project where you can go and work on your favorite character, that this is the opportunity that you could go and actually animate a character that inspired you to become an animator, that inspired you to have this passion for animation. This is their chance that they could go and finally work on that. And many of them actually got their dream come true to actually work on their favorite animated character. And also, one thing that really did stand out from the animated short that, of course, like it's one of the most talked about things, is the combined mediums. And that was the biggest challenge of this, is the fact that it is a combination of live action with all the film footage all across the studio. There is the computer animation with the modern characters, and also hand-drawn animation. And even in my source here from the Walt Disney Company, they even said that the animation is actually led by Eric Goldberg and Andrew Feliciano, where Andrew was in charge of all the CG animation, and Eric Goldberg was in charge of the hand-drawn animation. And what is very noteworthy with the hand-drawn is that like not only did they bring back hand-drawn animation in a much more prominent way than they have like many years ago. Like we haven't seen this much hand-drawn animation from Disney since 2011's Winnie the Pooh. But, I know there have technically been like a bunch of other like hand-drawn projects that they have done, like the Get a Horse short. But this one, however, like, my God, the hand-drawn animation, like it is everywhere, and it's like really out there. The thing with this hand-drawn animation is that they really did updated their teams. For the first time in many years, Disney actually hired 5 apprentices, 5 new animators to go and work at Disney so that they could be a part of the hand-drawn department. And don't worry, this isn't like just some one-time gig. They were able to actually keep their jobs to this day. And on top of that, not only did they get new animators, but they even brought back some of their old animators, people who used to be animators during the Disney Renaissance. Now they actually came back to actually redraw some of their characters. These would include Nick Ranieri, James Baxter, Ruben Aquino, Tony Bancroft, and Will Finn, all of whom decided to come back so that they can go and help out to bring the literally hundreds of characters to life. And in total, by the way, there are 543 individual characters from over 85 projects, including all the Disney movies, some of the animated shorts, and even some miscellaneous projects as well. And I just want to go and make a comment that the more you would go and look at each of these characters, the more fascinating it is, because like not only were a lot of the hand-drawn, like not only were the classic characters returned in hand drawn, but also they emphasize the style that they were from. Like, you could tell that there was a prominent difference between the characters that were done during the golden era of animation, like Snow White or Pinocchio or even Sleeping Beauty. And then there was also the characters that were done during the Xerox process, you know, like the ones that were done like in the 1960s and 70s that have a much more it has a sketchier look, like Sword in the Stone or The Jungle Book. Like one great example of a scene where you can notice the big difference between the styles of the characters is with Merlin, when he was in the coffee shop with Cogsworth, the Mad Hatter, and several other characters, and then suddenly you see Moana just rushing in so that Flounder from the Little Mermaid can have some water. And you could tell that there is a big difference in the animation style between Flounder or the Mad Hatter and with Merlin. So there really is a good amount of attention to detail. And not only that, but I would even say the same thing with the computer generated characters. Even the CG ones actually do stand out from some of the modern ones. Like, yeah, they already had the models for many characters, like from Frozen or Raya and the Lost Dragon or Encanto, but they had to, but considering that technology has evolved since they started making CG films, they had to go and recreate some of the models, like for Meet the Robinsons or Chicken Little. And what's interesting is that when you do see characters like Chicken Little or Wilbur and Lewis from Meet the Robinsons, you could tell that their styles are a little bit more primitive. And I don't mean that in the bad way, but I mean it in a sense that they still have that same style as if they were done back in the mid 2000s, compared to like the newer characters that have a more sleek and detailed style, like Anna and Elsa, or even Sisu, for example. So the attention to detail and the craftsmanship in the animation is just beautiful. But it's not just that, though. There are plenty of other noteworthy people that did work on this feature as well. Now, one main attribute that you probably have seen a lot of different articles to go and talk about, not just the one that I have over here, but another example is this one with Entertainment Weekly that would go and talk about Once Upon a Studio, as well as Wish, that's going to be coming up in November. But also, they have mentioned that there are over 40 original voice actors who contributed to this, which is honestly interesting because when I did do my research when working on the TikTok video talking about Once Upon a Studio, I discovered that there is actually a total of 51 individual voice actors who came in and actually provided their voices for Once Upon a Studio to do new original recordings. And by the way, the 51 that I counted, that does not include the 28 archival recordings that were used to bring certain characters like the good fairies from Beauty and the Beast to life, or using audio recordings of Sterling Holloway for Winnie the Pooh or the Cheshire Cat. And I have also counted that in total, there are 29 actors who actually reprised their original roles, like 29 of which that they were the original actors from the animated films that they were from. And I'm not like, I know there are some like you would have Jim Cummings that would come in and be like Winnie the Pooh and Baloo, and then you would have like Bill Farmer be Goofy and Tony Anselmo being Donald and stuff like that. But what I mean specifically with the 29 original actors, I'm talking about like Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell as Elsa and Anna respectively. Or you would have Jeremy Irons come back as Scar, or Nathan Lane return as Timon. Or you would also have Jodie Benson as Ariel, Paige O'Hara as Anna. You would also have Tom Hulse as Quasimodo. Like, you would have several of these actors. Like, yeah, there are some of the recent ones, like, it's no surprise that they would come back, like Kelly Marie Tran being Raya again. But there have been some that it's been like such a long time that these actors have played their characters, and now they have come back to this, which is honestly amazing. But then there's also another noteworthy moment, one that I would say is my personal favorite scene, and you probably know which one I'm talking about, is the heartwarming moment where we kind of see this spiritual reunion of Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney, where Mickey is in front of a portrait of Walt Disney, and then you hear a little song of Feed the Birds. And with that one, that is actually very interesting to mention, because the little piano tune that you hear of Feed the Birds, that was actually played by Richard Sherman himself. Yes, the original songwriter of, or one of the original songwriters of Mary Poppins, It's a Small World, and many other Disney classic music, alongside with his brother Bob. But with Richard Sherman, he actually did return to the same piano that he used to play regularly for Walt Disney to play Feed the Birds, and it resulted in this very tender moment. It was actually the first time in that short where I actually started to tear up. It was such a beautiful and just a very heartfelt moment. So honestly, overall, it's I will have to say, it is such a beautiful passion project. And honestly, just by reading all the behind the scenes stuff, you could tell that not only was it a big passion project to go and commemorate the 100th anniversary of Disney animation, but it is also a passion project that is made with love, that you could tell that all these people who have worked on it, you could tell those people love Disney and they wanted to put in their best contribution to Disney, to this short, that they wanted to make sure that this truly does honor the 100th anniversary of Disney animation in general, and that they would be part of that history. Now, I know some people might criticize that it is a bit of a cheesy kind of short, and I mean, there are a few things that even I would go and criticize myself. Like, I would say that it is pretty dumb of the fact that out of all the freaking characters you have to get in order to go and take that picture, you chose the freaking clumsiest one with freaking Goofy to handle the camera to go and take the picture and stuff like that. Which honestly, it's like, I can assure you that about at least 100 of those characters, when they saw that Goofy is in charge of the camera, they're like, oh, hell no. But yeah, I know, maybe it's not necessarily perfect and there can be a few things worth nitpicking about, but overall, though, I gotta say that it's such a great tribute and a wonderful animated short. Again, if you have not seen it, I highly recommend you go and do so. It is on Disney Plus right now. But also I will say, one sad thing, unfortunately, is that for a while, a lot of people have been saying that apparently this short would appear alongside Wish, but nowadays that may not be the case anymore. There have been, apparently word has been going around that it's only going to be on Disney Plus, and if you do want to see it in theaters, apparently the only way you can do so is that, right now Disney is going to be putting it up on alongside the airing of Moana. How Disney has been re-releasing their movies as part of the 100 years of the company's history. And apparently with Moana returning to the big screen, they're also going to go and put up Once Upon a Studio, which honestly for me, considering that these 100th anniversary screenings are very limited, it's kind of unfortunate that I might miss that chance. But still, though, it's still a fantastic short. So honestly, I just wanted to go and have this little segment to go and fully talk about the animated short, to go and discuss about Once Upon a Studio. I think it's such a beautiful job that the animators have Disney has done. And honestly, I don't think I could think of a better way to go and honor the 100th anniversary of Disney. Honestly, it turned out to be as beautiful as I hoped for. And I know many people have already said this, but it did feel like a beautiful dream come true. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall And I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of Once Upon a Studio? Do you have any comments that you would like to add in? Also, what would be your favorite what is your favorite moment in Once Upon a Studio? Let me know what you think on that. All right. Let's see. I've seen this special and I loved it. Seeing all the Disney characters come together, including the Disney villains, is a treat to my heart. The scene I like is where Elsa freezes Hans trying to get out of the picture frame, Splat having a crush on Ursula, Mickey Mouse speaking to Walt himself, and the Disney characters singing When You Wish Upon a Star. I'm glad that Disney made this short for everyone. Thank you, Walt Disney, for making what animation is capable of. Oh my god, yeah, and especially, like, that ending. I mean, like, some people could say it's a bit predictable of Disney doing so, but, I mean, that mega crossover with everyone singing When You Wish Upon a Star, like, that, it's such a beautiful moment. Like, honestly, one of the best animated highlights of the year. Especially, like, one thing that a lot of people have pointed out is is when you see both Snow White and Asha holding hands as they were singing like a bolt out of the blue, because, like, a lot of people love the symbolism of the first Disney princess being alongside the latest Disney princess, which, by the way, like, seeing Asha in Wish, especially with her new animation style, like, oh my god, that honestly gives me a tiny taste of, like, what's to come with that movie. And oh man, the style is going to be beautiful. I love the style of Asha with what she got in Once Upon a Studio. I can imagine it's going to turn out beautiful in the movie. All right, let's see what we got. Hearing this does make me happy, despite not having seeing it myself. I'm one of those people who doesn't care about spoilers. I have no idea when or if I will get to see it, as I unsubscribed from Disney Plus after growing disappointed with the company over the past few years, especially Iger's response to the strike. Disney still has to do a lot to win me, but really happy that this special occasion was a dream come true for other loyal fans, animators, voice actors, and many more. All right, let's see now. Once Upon a Studio was one of the best Disney animated short films ever made. I first watched it at El Capitan Theater with the animators so that I could review it for my channel. The short itself really showed that hand-drawn animation is still as amazing as ever, and mixed mediums blends it pretty well. I'm so thankful that I visited the studio, and seeing the references while walking around the place, it was so much fun. Recently saw the short again at Animation is Film with the director Dan and Trent. All right, awesome, man. Yeah, and I mean, they did a phenomenal job with blending everything together with the way that all the computer animated characters and the hand-drawn animated characters are all interacting in this live action environment. Like, this kind of mixed medium, like, honestly, it's some of the best that you could find since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The work that they have done to mix these together, like, I know it is a true technical challenge, but they did a beautiful job with it. Let's see, what else do we have here? I remember watching the short last week and was an absolute masterpiece of an animated short and a beautiful tribute to the company's 100th anniversary, and I even got incredibly emotional. Some of the standout scenes were hearing dialogue from Robin Williams as Genie, Mickey looking at the picture of Walt Disney, and all the characters singing When You Wish Upon a Star. So overall, this was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it was actually great to see that that little comeback of Robin Williams. The fact that they actually used never before heard archival recordings of Robin Williams to bring him back as the Genie. And of course, they did get permission from the family, so that was honestly really wonderful to see. Let's see what else we got here. Once Upon a Studio is a great tribute to Disney animation. I am happy and crying to see all the Disney characters reunited together at the studio. Even voice actors came back, while some used from archives since they are no longer here. Speaking of that, we get to hear some unused recordings of Robin Williams as Genie under permission from his estate, which I already mentioned. By the way, I'm sad that Chicken Little didn't make some joke with other Disney characters. Well, I mean, he is there, and like, if they want, for the characters that they want to go and highlight, I don't know if Chicken Little would be a high priority. That would be like asking the cows from Home on the Range to have some kind of speaking dialogue. But I mean, they're perfectly fine in the place that they were, where you have Louisa just like carrying them. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, hopefully you don't hear the leaf blower that is outside. I may have to do something about that. But anyways, I'll read one more comment before we go on to the next break. I had the chance to check out Once Upon a Studio when it dropped on Disney Plus, and needless to say, damn, what a short. It's funny, it's emotional, it's a remarkable celebration of the Disney pantheon. The mix of animation was somehow seamlessly done. Bowler Hat Guy was in it. It's literally the perfect way to celebrate 100 years of Disney. For now. Wish isn't out yet. Also, this is a total me thing, but if this short is the big 100 years of Disney celebration, how is there no Yen Sid? Hey, hold on a sec. I can guarantee you Yen Sid was there. I mean, he wasn't prominently there, but I mean, they do feature him right over here. Like he's right next to he's right next to Sisu and, well, funny enough, next to the cows from Home on the Range. So I mean, Yen Sid was there. I mean, you can't say he was not. All right, so with that said, that should do it with Once Upon a Studio, and we will be right back where we will be talking about some actual animation news. And this was one I gotta say, never have I felt so much joy and then immediate disappointment right afterwards. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back, folks. Hopefully you don't hear the leaf blower that's going on outside. Oh boy. Oh well, I gotta work with it. But anyways, as I was saying, now that we are back, let's actually talk about some actual animation news that's been going on. And this one, I swear, this was like a crazy case of emotional whiplash, where when I did first hear about it, when I heard about the first part, I was just laughing in a massive schadenfreude way. Honestly, I thought it was funny that Karma finally came to the studio after many of its controversial choices. But just when I thought the schadenfreude would go and like help make my day, suddenly it was immediately shut down with some other news. So with that said, let's go and talk about Skydance Animation. Now, the first part of this news is that apparently it was reported that Apple and Skydance Animation announced that they were going to split, that they decided to separate and they would no longer work with each other. Now, they didn't necessarily specify as to why. At the most, the only thing that they have said was in relation to their next animated feature, Spellbound, which is going to be the big Skydance animated musical brought to us by Alan Menken and Glenn Slater, that has this all-star cast of Rachel Zegler, Nicole Kidman, Javier Bardem, Nathan Lane, and several other people. And apparently Apple was saying that, oh, well, it didn't meet to our standards. I don't think it's a great fit for Apple. And apparently that's the only explanation as to why they said that they're completely splitting up with the studio. Which I just gotta say right now, that explanation is bull crap. I mean, it's either they are saying that that Spellbound is so bad that they had to break up with the animation studio entirely, or there's much more going on behind the scenes that we don't know yet. Like, honestly, the only explanation that I think would be reasonable would be because of the conflict between the leaders of both Skydance Animation and Apple, which does include John Lasseter. Now, that's just my theory of it. Technically, there is no proof of this, but I feel like that sounds more logical than just saying, I don't like how Spellbound is going. So that pretty much happened, and I was kind of laughing, thinking like, well, at this point, if they got kicked out of Apple, who the fridge would want to go and work with Skydance Animation? Especially with the fact that technically the parent company, Skydance Media, is still collaborating with Apple. Like, they're still cool in terms of the live action stuff, including the new Martin Scorsese's film, Killers of the Flower Moon. But apparently that theory got shot down when it was revealed that soon afterwards, like literally like minutes or at the most hours after the breakup with Apple, Skydance Animation signed a multi-year deal with Netflix. And not only will the movie Spellbound be released on Netflix next year, but they also mentioned about another animated movie that they have in the works that will be coming out on Netflix in 2025 called Puku. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of what that movie is, it is stated over here, let's see, on the heels of that is Puku, by the way, reading from my source here on Deadline, it is a buddy comedy about a small woodland creature and a majestic bird, two natural sworn enemies of the valley that magically trade places and set off on an adventure of a lifetime. Puku is directed by Nathan Gretto, who previously worked on Tangled, with original music composed by Siddhartha Khosla? I think that's how you say their name. I could be wrong, but anyways, yeah. This is all to pretty much say that Skydance Animation pretty much broke up with Apple, and now they signed a brand new deal with Netflix. Now, I just wanted to say, like, I was shocked as much as I was just laughing in Schadenfreude when I heard about the news of Apple and Skydance Animation splitting up. Because you would think that with John Lasseter and Apple, they would be very tight, especially with the fact that John has a lot of history related to Apple, especially when he worked with Steve Jobs ever since the inception of Pixar. Like, you know, John and Steve, along with Ed Catmull, were like the founders of Pixar Animation, and you know, they have been collaborating with each other up until Steve Jobs' death in 2011. And ever since then, you would think that that they would be very cool with one another, but I guess that may no longer be the case, considering that there was a multi-year deal that Apple had with Skydance Animation, but now that just completely broke off. So that's the thing that really felt unexpected. But then you got Netflix, who suddenly decided to just barge in, and they decided, okay, let's go and have Skydance Animation. Hey, you're available? Cool. Let's come on over. We need more animated films. It's like, honestly, there is a part of it that does make sense that it would be Netflix who would want to go and have Skydance Animation over, especially when they have this big goal where they want to go and mass produce high quality animated programming, whether it be animated shows or even animated movies and stuff like that. And they kind of have this big mission where they really want to go and compete against Disney in terms of the animated offerings that they would have. And they are looking to have as much as possible. And they really want to go and distribute a lot of major animated films that would normally be released in theaters. Like they're aiming to have like 5, 6, or even 7 animated films released a year onto the platform. And by bringing on board a company like Skydance Animation, they would go and actually help out with that goal. So in that regard, yeah, it's pretty clear as to why Netflix would want to go and actually have Skydance Animation over. But admittedly, there's just a part of me that can't help but feel like there's just something very gross about it. Honestly, like, I was a bit disappointed when I did hear that Netflix would go and help save Skydance Animation. But then again, when you do think about it, I think, honestly, that was a decision that was already in the works, that was already premeditated. You know, it's kind of like one of those relationships where you could tell it was already ending. Like, you know, it was like the breakup didn't happen just yet, but like, you know, deep down, like, it was already gonna happen. and like it's already at the point where like the couple is already starting to see other people, and just when they broke up they already start their relationship with the other person. I think that's what happened with Skydance Animation. Like they already knew things have been going bad with Apple, they don't have that great of a relationship, so they started to see with Netflix, they started to make negotiations there, and then once things got official, they decided to immediately break up with Apple and then just join in with Netflix. Now, the one good thing that is worth mentioning about this, the one thing that technically is actually a positive of the fact that Skydance Animation is now with Netflix, is mainly in regards to the animated work that has already been done. Because technically, it is true that, well, I mean, I'm sure there's already been a lot of hard work that the animators have put in onto something like Spellbound, and at least now that they have teamed up with Netflix, their work would not go to waste. So technically there is that argument that it is a good thing for the animators, and I will give Skydance Animation credit. From what I have seen with Luck, like, yeah, that movie was garbage. It was absolutely crap. But the animators that they have there are highly talented. And I think that is the one thing that keeps it away from being god-awful to being one of the worst pieces of animation ever released. I think it's because like there is a very talented group of animators in there, and at least like the work that they have done will not go to waste. But still though, there is something about this news over here that I feel like is massively gross. And that is especially the case with the timing of this when you factor in what was announced the week prior to this announcement. And that is especially with what's been going on with Netflix. For those of you who haven't heard, apparently Netflix is going to do the same thing with what DreamWorks has done recently, and that is to go and downsize their animation division so that they can go and put more importance onto outsourcing their animations, or that they would go and have different studios altogether to make animated movies for Netflix. Now, as I am recording this, there is no confirmation as to how many animators are going to be let go within Netflix Animation itself. But still, though, it is kind of an unfortunate thing that there are going to be some in-house animators at Netflix that are going to ultimately lose their jobs in favor of Netflix trying to save money in order to produce more animated films, and that they're going to look elsewhere to have their animated movies be created. And honestly, as bad as this is, there is a part of me that does see where Netflix is coming from with this, especially when recently it's not necessarily their new, it's not necessarily the first time that they would go and try to do so, because they have already found a lot of great success with animated movies that their animation was either outsourced by a completely different studio, or that it's an entirely different studio that made the animated feature and that Netflix would go and distribute it. Some great examples include, well, as you can see from this article from Variety, The Mitchells vs. the Machines from Sony Pictures Animation, Vivo, again from Sony, or even The Sea Beast last year, to which the animation was actually done by Sony Pictures Imageworks. So it looks like they're going to be heading more towards that direction, and that they're going to double down on that, more so than having a full-on in-house animation studio where the animators from Los Angeles will be providing whatever content that Netflix would go and ask for. So with that said, there's just a part of me that finds it massively gross of the fact that Netflix would rather want to fire several of their animators, and we don't know how many. Maybe it's just going to be a few dozen. Maybe it's going to be like DreamWorks and Pixar, where they're going to fire 70, or maybe it's even going to be, or maybe it'll be like in the hundreds or something like that, that they would rather fire some of their in-house animators in favor of working with who is pretty much a notorious sexual harasser. And this is not like an allegation or anything. Like, this is something that even John Lasseter himself actually did confirm, that he has actually done, which is which is honestly very unfortunate. And honestly, the most frustrating part about this whole scenario with John Lasseter in the first place is that because of Skydance Animation, he has dodged any accountability of the actions that he has made. Yes, he was fired from Disney, but still, he is not fired from the entire animation industry. And seeing Netflix like doing this kind of action, it's just there's something about it that just feels flat out wrong. Like, yeah, like the animators at Skydance will have their animation saved, but what about like the people at Netflix? What about them? Not to mention that on top of this announcement, they've also revealed that there were 2 projects that they're going to scrap. Apparently, there's going to be an animated movie called Escape from Beverly Hills that is now back in the open market, and apparently this African-themed movie called Tunga, to which, here, let me just read from my source on Variety, in which it says, it is a film won by Netflix at auction in 2019 from Zimbabwe-born creator Godwin Jabagwe. That film is rooted in the mythology of the Shona culture and has been sent back into development. So there's already a lot of those sacrifices, that projects have been scrapped from Netflix. People have been fired, all in favor to go and work with John Lasseter. And that's the part where I honestly just find like, this is wrong. Okay, this is the part that honestly, that's where I feel like a lot of the massive disappointment where that comes from. And like, yeah, some people could say like, oh, well, it's more the coincidence of the timing of this entire thing, but that doesn't change that this just doesn't feel okay, especially when nowadays it really does feel like with Netflix, their reputation has really gone down the crapper. And like, the more I hear about Netflix, the worse their image has become. Like, it's not just with this news where they're teaming up with John Lasseter and his studio to distribute more animated films on the platform, but also there is the factor that even though they mentioned about record numbers with Netflix, that business has been going great with the company, but they're still going to do price hikes where they're charging people more for Netflix on a monthly basis. And then there's also the CEO, Ted Sarandos, who keeps on making these awful comments again and again and again regarding the strikers. Like, if you thought Bob Iger was bad with some of his comments, oh boy, wait till you hear some of the things that Ted Sarandos has been saying. Because this dude has literally been gaslighting actors, saying that it's their fault that this strike is going on and that they're preventing people from going back to work and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like, again, this is not to defend Bob Iger, and I completely condemn the things that he has said in relation to the strike, but honestly, right now, I feel like Bob is a lot more competent as a CEO than Ted. So yeah, honestly, it's just like, the more I hear about Netflix, the more I just feel disgusted. The more that I just feel like it's not that, like, there are worse companies out there than Disney, and I think Netflix is starting to really become one of them. But yeah, overall though, this is just a case where I feel like, just when I thought, like, finally we will see some justice for the victims of John Lasseter, just when we thought karma is finally going to hit Skydance Animation, no, unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case here. It's just Netflix coming in, thinking more about mass producing their stuff and just like dishing out as much animated content as possible, regardless of who it's from, even if it is from a sexual predator. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what did you think of the whole Skydance Animation switch up? How do you feel about Skydance going from Apple to Netflix? Let me know what you think on that. All right. Let's see. I feel like we still don't know much about the full behind-the-scenes stuff about Skydance Animation since they don't want to talk about you-know-who. Honestly, I want to really dig up more about Skydance Animation and do more research into the studio someday because I care about the I care about the animators and artists so much. But as of now, with that Netflix deal, Netflix is now basically becoming the cheap place to make a deal with, and it's disgusting. I just hope the animators are doing okay right now. Yeah, from what I've heard, now this is just allegations, but apparently some people are saying that working at Skydance Animation, yeah, it's not that fun. And a big part of it is because of John Lasseter. We don't have any confirmation, no word is out if he would still be sexually harassing women and stuff like that. But in terms of many of the other toxic traits that he would enable at Pixar and Disney, he carried that over onto Skydance Animation. And apparently working there has been, it's just been unpleasant all around, especially when many of John Lasseter's friends, especially the director of Luck, can be an absolute nightmare to work with. Now, again, these are just allegations, but from what I have heard, Skydance Animation is a place that is a nightmare to work at. Let's see, what else do we have here? What else do we have? Okay, I feel like I know the reason. Darla K. Anderson was one of Lasseter's closest friends and colleagues. She left Pixar shortly after Coco won for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars for producing at Netflix. When Apple saw that Lasseter's supposed comeback with Luck didn't turn out well, she used her position to get Netflix to be the new Skydance distributor. Lasseter's connections is barely career alive. I just wish that studios would quit outsourcing to cut costs. Okay, so what you mentioned there, I think we could just say is a theory. There's no confirmation to what you say, but what you say does make a crap load of sense. That is actually true. That Darla Anderson is now working at Pixar, and that from what I've heard, especially after all the especially after all the case against John Lasseter came out, Darla Anderson was also another toxic individual at Pixar that was just making everyone's life a living hell, and that now she is working at Netflix. So there could be those connections that let her, keep John Lasseter's career alive. So that may be the case. I'm not saying that it's true, but what I am saying is that it does make sense. All right, let's see what else we got. I wanted to laugh, but felt disappointed that Netflix is picking up Skydance Animation due to a strong relationship with Skydance Media and saving money by relying on third-party studios like Skydance instead of their own animation department. I could see it very short-lived in the next few years as long as Lasseter is still around and making things worse. Good for Apple to break off with that studio. Also, how crazy that Spellbound went from Paramount to Apple to now Netflix due to Lasseter, right? Oh yeah, I mean, if it's going to be anything like what we have just seen with Apple and Lasseter, there could be that chance that maybe in the next few years, maybe not immediately, but maybe in 2026 or 2027, Netflix is going to break off with Apple, or that maybe after the release of Spellbound, that movie is going to do so poor. If it does so poorly, I mean, there is that chance that maybe the movie could actually turn out to be unironically good. But if it's actually crap, if it turns out to be as bad as Luck, and the numbers are just not there, then we could see another breakup happen pretty soon. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? With John Lasseter being one of my major animation storytelling influences when I was still a student in art school, it was heartbreaking for me to hear about all the skeletons revealed in his closet, and even more, Luck was just him hijacking the work of other creative minds. Netflix, on the other hand, can't say I'm surprised. With the past news of them screwing over animators and others who work for them, like the behind the scenes of Squid Games, they are another studio who will stoop to any low. And yeah, that is honestly true. When you do hear about the stories in relation to Netflix and a lot of their cost-saving tactics, especially the ones that would end up like really screwing over different creators and different filmmakers, yeah, it's really not that much of a surprise that they don't necessarily have any moral standards to the point where they would be more than happy to go and collaborate with someone like John Lasseter if it means that they would be able to distribute more animated features on a regular basis. So yeah, you do bring up a very good point there. What other comments would there be? Just want to see if anybody has something else to say. Teaming up with Skydance Animation is one thing, but firing your own employees from your studio in favor of working with a sexual harasser, ew. Just ew. And for the love of God, can John Lasseter be retired now? The animation industry would be very fine without him, and considering the working conditions at Skydance, it explains a lot to why John needs to stop working and meddling around with animated projects. The whole situation is just disgusting. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, honestly, it's just, it's not encouraging to see that people like John Lasseter are still able to get not only work, but even leadership positions and even some powerful connections. So it's a very disappointing sight to see. Let's see. I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm tired of this. You have great people from other cultures to work with and share great stories, but oh no, you hired John Lasseter. Is he an important person in the animation industry? Well, Hollywood thinks so. We already heard toxic things happening at Skydance Animation. Exactly, man. It's just something that I want to go and call out, and that amongst one of the many things that Netflix should be ashamed of, this right over here is absolutely one of them. All right, so we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do return, we will have a bit of an update in regards to the strike. And yes, apparently SAG-AFTRA has a brand new rule, but this rule doesn't seem like something that people are cool with. So we will be right back after this. And welcome back. Now, on our next story, we will be talking about the actor strike. And yes, unfortunately, the strike is still going on as I am recording this. Now, a couple of weeks ago, they tried to have some negotiations with the studios. Like, there was a negotiation prepared to go and have the two come together and actually make a deal. But unfortunately, nothing really came out of it, and they're still in bad terms. And that's why to this day, you still see SAG-AFTRA and the studios just continuously butting heads. But it is worth noting, however, that apparently on Tuesday, or on October 24th, they will be back negotiating, so maybe something will come out of it, maybe not. But for now, it doesn't look like there's going to be an end to this strike anytime soon. And because of that, considering that Halloween is just around the corner, SAG-AFTRA wants to apply some brand new rules for actors to follow in relation to Halloween. Now, one major thing that the actors want to make sure none of their members and none of the people who want to support them do is to go and promote struck work. They don't want people to go and do some promotional work for the studios so that they could generate more revenue with the shows or TV shows or with the movies and TV shows that they would go and produce. And this is why they have introduced a brand new rule that for SAG-AFTRA members, that they should not be wearing any Halloween costumes that are related to characters from projects that are from struck studios. So they're pretty much telling people to not go and dress up as either Barbie or Ken or Wednesday from the Netflix series, or, well, specifically Wednesday Addams from the Netflix series, or Halle Bailey's Ariel, or anything like that. To keep your costumes as generic as possible. That's actually one major thing that they said, is to dress up more generically. You know, be like in an actual movie set where you're just dressed up as like this non-disclosed monster, like a vampire or a werewolf or an alien or just something simple like that. And from there, the reactions that they have received were not great. Yeah, a lot of people actually did get upset, and they got some reactions, especially from some high-profile actors, one of which being Ryan Reynolds, to which he says, "I look forward to screaming scab at my 8-year-old all night. She's not in the union, but she needs to learn." And by the way, I am reading this from my source on The Hollywood Reporter. Another comment is from Mandy Moore, in which she says on her Instagram account, "Is this a joke? Come on, SAG-AFTRA. This is what's important. We're asking you to negotiate in good faith on our behalf. So many folks across every aspect of this industry have been sacrificing mightily for months. Get back to the table and get a fair deal so everyone can get back to work." And we even have a comment coming from the past SAG-AFTRA president, Melissa Gilbert, in which she was not happy about that, in which she said, "This is what you guys come up with? Literally no one cares what anyone wears for Halloween. I mean, do you really think it's kind of, do you really think it's kind of infantile stuff? Or do you really think this kind of infantile stuff is going to end the strike? We look like a joke. Please tell me you're going to make this rule go away and go negotiate. For the love of God, people are suffering mightily, and this is what you have to say. Come on, this is the kind of silly bullcrap that keeps us on strike. Let's enact a policy that makes us look petty and incompetent at the same time." So yeah, this did not go well. And because of that, SAG-AFTRA did put out a response saying that they're still justified in that decision, but they want to make a bit of a clarification as to what they mean by their rule. So they stated, SAG-AFTRA issued Halloween guidance in response to questions from content creators and members about how to support the strike during the festive season. This was meant to help them avoid promoting struck work, and it is the latest in a series of guidelines we have issued. It does not apply to anyone's kids. We are on strike for important reasons and have been for nearly 100 days, which, by the way, just a quick update, as I am recording this, that 100-day count has officially surpassed. Our number one priority remains getting the studios back to the negotiation table so we could get a fair deal from our members and finally put our industry back to work. So that is the big thing that they wanted to go and emphasize, that they want to make sure that people do not dress up as popular characters from movies or series or anything like that to stand in solidarity with the strike. And honestly, you guys know me. You guys know very well that as an actor myself, I want to go and support the strikers. I want to go and support the big goal that SAG-AFTRA is going for, which is to get a better deal for all actors from the studios. Like, I want to support them, and I myself want to do everything I can to go and help them out as well, even if it means using my platform to go and promote the strike, to go and help out the strikers in any way I can. And like you probably have even seen, like there have been several videos I've done in the recent past where I would go and like interrupt the review to go and highlight to go and give out, to tell people to go and donate to the Entertainment Community Fund. Like I've done my share to try to help out the strikers and to go and promote their cause and stuff like that. But stuff like this, admittedly, I have to agree that this is kind of stupid, because there is a bit of a point where you have to stop and you kind of have to ask, how is this going to help out the actors? How is it that telling them not to dress up like any popular character is really going to help out their cause, and it's going to help out the actors during the strike? I don't see how this is really beneficial. And I will say, I do understand the motivation that SAG-AFTRA wants to do. You know, they want to make sure that the studios bleed and that they do face consequence of not giving the actors what they want during this whole strike. Okay, I get that, but it's stuff like this that kind of highlights this flaw with SAG-AFTRA, where, you know, some of the things feel like they don't really make as much sense, and that there are times where it feels like SAG-AFTRA is focusing more on hurting studios more so than actually helping out actors. Because again, okay, I could see how you want to go and I could see how like not dressing up as Barbie is going to hurt studios in a way. But I don't see how this is beneficial to the actors. I don't see how this is something that is really helping them out. I don't see how like this will keep them motivated or to keep on going with this entire strike. I don't really see like any of the benefits for them in this case. You're just applying these strict rules where like it just makes it feel like, okay, you're just not making things less fun in a way. You're kind of, you know, you're putting these unnecessary rules where in a way it's motivated by hatred. Like you're doing this out of the hatred for studios, out of trying to go after them, to strike them down, instead of doing something that feels like it could be just beneficial for the actors. And that's one thing that I want to go and highlight, because like from there, it does make me think and look back into some of the other policies that they would do. And yeah, they would also have flaws as well. Like one great example is in regards to social media. Or specifically with social media influencers. You already know about the rules that they have for social media influencers, that they want them especially to not go and promote any struck down studios or any of their works. Like if a movie comes from like Disney or Warner Brothers or Universal or Sony, don't talk about it. Don't promote what they would do. Keep away from them at all costs. And I mean, I do understand that rule when it comes to influencers who are also members of SAG-AFTRA. Like one great example is Andre the Black Nerd. I mean, that is the main reason why you don't really see him talking about any of some of the recent pop culture stuff. That's why he has yet to do any videos in relation to Mutant Mayhem or Once Upon a Studio or any trailer reactions or anything like that. It's because he is also an actor and a member of SAG-AFTRA. And in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA, he is following the rules to not go and promote their work. Okay, in that regard, that I completely understand. But what doesn't make sense, however, is to go and threaten any of the non-union influencers, people like me. You know, like, I don't really see how it really is beneficial for the actors, where you have to literally go as far as to threaten those non-union actors to say, don't go and promote any struck studios, don't promote any of their works, or else we will ban you from any future opportunities. We will not let you in we will not give you any SAG-AFTRA membership. You know, like, in that regard, like, okay, like, thinking about it, and I've been trying my part to follow that rule, you know, like you guys probably do remember. I went and contacted SAG-AFTRA directly for some clarifications with stuff that I'm doing with my videos and with my podcast. It is the reason that I have yet for months not talked about any trailers whatsoever, because it would, for them, it would be considered scabbing. But now when you do think about it, yeah, like, did they really have to go to that extent where they have to make that kind of threat to non-union influencers, to people who aspire to join SAG-AFTRA? Like, that might be something that feels like a little bit too far. Like, if you are going to threaten them, like, once this is all over, are you going to reward them for the sacrifices that they have done? Are you going to go and, like, are you going to do something to make things up for that threat? Because for now, it just sounds like you're trying to be mean to the non-union influencers so that you could go and stick it to the studios. You know, again, it feels like it's just something that is motivated by the hatred of the studios instead of something that feels like it can actually go and help out the actors. And I'll even say, even today, like, even though there are some things that feel like they are pretty clear, there are other aspects as well that feel like they raise more questions than answers, especially with the way that they have been pretty vague with what they mean by don't go and promote whatever works from any of the major studios. Like, okay, yeah, like, I haven't been talking about trailers and stuff like that, and I've been showing my support to the strikers, but what about some of the other things that I would do for my videos? Like, what about my TikTok videos when I would do animation facts? What about animation look back? What about any of the other special videos that I would go and do? What about them? Would that be constitute as scabbing? Would that make me as bad as someone like Drew Barrymore? Like, I honestly don't know. And again, it's all because of these strict rules that that SAG-AFTRA wants to do, and just so hell-bent on trying to strike down the studios, make them lose as much money as possible. And I hope that is not the case. I hope that with what I am doing with my videos, like, I am still in good terms with SAG-AFTRA, and that when that time comes, I could still be able to go and join that union. That's one thing that I am hoping for with this entire situation. But then again, it does highlight the flaw that, yeah, some of the tactics that they are trying to do to go after against the studios, like, it is problematic that they are focusing less on what is the most, they are focusing less on what's most important, and that is for the actors, to actually get a good deal done, to go and help them out during the strike, and to make sure that the deal that they do have is going to be beneficial for the actors. So honestly, with this entire situation, yeah, I feel like the whole costume rule is something that feels a bit ridiculous. It's something that feels like it is unnecessary for this entire strike, and it does highlight one of the big flaws with the actor strike on the actors' part. And hopefully, of course, I am hoping that this strike is going to be over soon, that there is going to be a deal that the studios and the actors are going to make, and that the actors will receive what they've been asking for, just like with what the writers were asking for and got everything that they wanted. It's just with this whole situation with the whole Halloween thing, it's just, yeah, this is not helping anyone whatsoever. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall over here, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about SAG-AFTRA's Halloween rule during the strike? And how do you think the current situation with the actor strike is going so far, now that we have officially passed 100 days of it? Let me know what you all think here. All right, now let me see. As much as I've been supporting the actor strike, this is honestly just stupid. This honestly just feels like SAG-AFTRA just being petty. It just feels like they are trying to go after the studios rather than actually help the actors. And honestly, now it feels like everything about this strike has just become depressing. And I have a feeling if this strike doesn't end before the end of the year, we're going to see major award shows, including the Oscars, get delayed. Oh, that's a guarantee. Like, if it does happen, if it doesn't, like, if this strike continues by 2024, which I'm just going to say, I kind of doubt it, but yeah, I think that's going to be a guarantee where, like, we're suddenly going to see stuff like the Golden Globes and the Oscars be pushed to, like, the springtime, like in April, May, or even June. That could be a thing. Let's see now. Stupid pointless rule indeed. Who in the picket lines fighting for their livelihoods is even bothering to dress up? Aiming to hurt studios rather than to help workers won't get us anywhere. Even if anyone on strike does want to dress up, there's plenty of other options besides characters from your favorite movies and shows. I got creative with my choice for costumes as a kid, even dressing up as Sherlock Holmes and Elvis when I was 11 and 12. Yeah, exactly. And there are some things that like the chat wall actually did brought up that it just makes like, honestly, it would raise more questions than answers. Like, let's say there is someone who wants to dress up as Barbie. Like, would dressing up as Barbie in general would be considered scabbing? Or would it be an exception if you want to dress up like a specific Barbie that came out in like the 1990s instead of specifically Margot Robbie Barbie? Or even like with Elvis, for example, is it breaking, like you want to dress up as you want to go and dress up as Elvis Presley, but would that be considered scabbing because people will think that you're like the Austin Butler version of Elvis? Like, again, just like with the whole social media influencers thing, it ends up complicating the matter and it raises more questions than answers. And it feels very doubtful if it's actually going to be something that would help out the actors more so than, yeah. Oh boy, I'm just tripping on my own words. I'm sorry, folks. But anyways, going after the studios is one thing, but placing a rule on not dressing up for Halloween, that's where you cross the line that you've been you've been taking things. I really hope the studios and actors would get a decent deal out of it, but with that stupid rule, it's just making the strike look sad and petty. I'm on Ryan Reynolds and Manny Moore's side on the situation. The whole thing is a complete joke. Exactly, man. Let's see here. Yeah, this is frustrating about these Halloween costume guidelines. I know their purpose of this is to not give any publicity to their current movies and shows that can't be discussed, but to me, it feels like more about attacking the studios instead of helping the actors. Luckily, there is a negotiation tomorrow between the two sides, so I hope there is a fair deal soon, as it already affected some movies right now. Oh yeah, I definitely know what you mean right there. Let's see. Would there be other comments to go and highlight? No, surprisingly, no, there hasn't been. So yeah, honestly, with this entire situation with SAG-AFTRA, they need to go and reevaluate what they need to go and reevaluate what is the big goal. Instead of attacking studios, they need to think about helping actors. And they got to reconsider many of the rules that they put in. Does it actually help actors? If not, then maybe it's not worth having. Rather it be the Halloween costumes, or controversially, I would even say, even with the rules with social media influencers. It's one thing to go and apply that to those who are influencers and SAG-AFTRA members, but again, threatening non-union influencers and doing so, I don't know, like, is that really a good idea? I don't know, like, that's just my opinion, but there's just something off about that. Okay, so, with that said, we got one more story that we are going to go and cover, and this is something that is more related to a big internet drama right now, but we're not necessarily going to be looking into the drama itself, but we are going to be looking more into the dangerous consequences from the company who is handling all this. So stay tuned for that. And now, folks, it is time that we shall go and end this off with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, we will be talking about a popular internet drama that is currently happening that to this day people are still discussing about. But again, I don't necessarily want to focus on the drama itself because everybody has put their opinion on the piece, and I think we know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here. But what I want to focus specifically is regarding to YouTube and how they're handling the situation. Because so far, it's not been looking good, and I feel like this is something that needs to be discussed and that it needs to be called out and that more people should be talking about it, because this is going to set a very dangerous precedent if this continues. And what I am talking about, of course, is in relation to the SSSniperwolf controversy. So chances are you may have already heard about the whole drama in relation to SSSniperwolf and Jacksfilms. But I'm going to go and do the best I can to make a long story short out of this entire situation. So, if you haven't heard, well, you may probably know about SSSniperwolf. She is a very popular YouTuber with over 34 million subscribers, and her main shtick is that she would go and react to TikTok videos, or she would react to just random videos that she would find wherever on the internet. And she has been met with a lot of criticism with the way that she would go and do her reaction videos, where she would barely even be reacting at all. Some people would even say that it infringes on copyright. One of the people who have criticized her is Jacksfilms, where he has on a few occasions called out SSSniperwolf with the way that she would be producing her videos. And apparently she is not the kind of person who takes criticism well. So what she decided to do is to go and have a little fun on Instagram. And she asked the question to her 5 million followers on that platform, hey, would it be a good idea if I would go and find Jacksfilms' house? Apparently he lives 5 minutes away from me. And so apparently that's exactly what she did, where she actually took a picture of Jacksfilms' house on her Instagram for her 5 million followers to go and see. So she flat out doxed Jacksfilms. And from there, the entire internet has just called her out on it. You know, they were slamming her, they were going after her, and really shaming her of the fact that she would do what could debatably be considered an illegal crime. That she put Jack's life in danger, and now Jack and his family, by the way, doesn't feel safe in their own home for what she has done. And people have been waiting for YouTube to see if they would go and make a response to it. And there have been a lot of demands for SSSniperwolf to either be completely demonetized or even deplatformed for what she has done, considering that it goes against YouTube's community guidelines. And YouTube, they have been pretty slow about it. In fact, they actually did some kind of like stupid response, like on Twitter. Apparently one thing they said was like, would it be too meta to make a reaction video to a reaction video? And that did not go well. And now YouTube started to get the same amount of backlash as SSSniperwolf. And it wasn't until a week after the incident occurred when YouTube finally made a response, and that they have taken action regarding the whole case. To which they stated on Twitter, reading from my source on Time, it states, confirming SSSniperwolf has received a temporary monetization suspension per creator responsibility policies. Off-platform actions that put others' personal safety at risk harm our community, and the behavior on both sides isn't what we want on YouTube. Hoping everyone helps move this convo to a better place. At the same time, SSSniperwolf also made an apology post onto Twitter. Now, this is only on Twitter. She didn't make a post about it either on Instagram or even on her YouTube channel. It's just on her Twitter, to which it states here, let me start by saying I'm sorry for my recent actions. It is inexcusable. I'm sorry to Jacksfilms, YouTube, the entire creator community, and my incredible fans for not being a better example for appropriate conflict resolutions. Jacksfilms, while we certainly don't see eye to eye and have our differences, I am sorry for reacting the way I did when I should have taken the opportunity to show young creators how adults and professionals resolve conflicts by communicating directly, respectfully, and privately, not for views or content, but a meaningful example of how conflict should be solved. I will reach out directly and hope we can find some time to connect and communicate respectfully. I'd also like to thank YouTube for holding me accountable. I deserve it. I respect the decision and appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow from a true lapse in judgment. So that is the major thing that is going on with this entire situation. That's the main story that we got so far. And again, I've already explained my piece, or, well, not me, actually, but everyone on the internet has already expressed their opinions about the whole problem with this entire controversy. And we can clearly tell that this actually is a matter that is black and white, where obviously Sniperwolf is completely in the wrong in this, where she is the bad guy in here, and that Jacksfilms did nothing wrong in the scenario, and that yes, Sniperwolf should be held accountable for her actions, considering that, again, they could debatably be considered a bit of a crime, considering that she has endangered the life of Jacksfilms and his entire family. Now, we've already established that. This is a common fact. Everybody knows this. It is almost unanimous that Sniperwolf is the villain in here and that she should be punished for this. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I mainly want to focus on is YouTube's response to the matter. The fact that they took their sweet time to actually take action against Sniperwolf, and especially the punishment itself of what they have given to Sniperwolf. And this is honestly something that I would say not only is it frustrating, but this is something that I would consider to be quite frightening. The fact that the only thing that Sniperwolf has received from all this is just a temporary monetization suspension, that she is only demonetized just for a bit of time. And they did not even clarify how long this suspension is going to be. Maybe it's going to be days, maybe it's going to be weeks, maybe it's going to be months. But either way, we don't necessarily know how long it is going to be. But one thing that it is emphasized is that it is just temporarily, that eventually she would go and have it back. And as you could probably imagine, that is not punishable enough. Because you already know that with YouTube, they're just waiting for the opportune moment that when this controversy dies down, they're going to go and remonetize Sniperwolf's channel so that suddenly she can go back doing her regular stuff as if nothing happened. That YouTube is not going to be the one who's going to punish Sniperwolf. And especially with the way that they have been handling this entire situation, it's noticeable that YouTube doesn't want to actually go and punish Sniperwolf, because again, she's one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform, that she has over 34 million subscribers, and punishing her would also mean to go and punish YouTube, which is why they've been so hesitant for so long, that they don't necessarily want to go and actually address the matter. And not to mention the fact that they legit said the two most triggering words of this entire situation, that they would dare say that the behavior on both sides isn't what we want on YouTube. That they legitimately pulled a both sides situation and they tried to do the centrist approach. And like any centrist, you just want to go and slap them in the face with a baseball bat. Like, what do you mean, both sides? You know, that's the big question that I want to know. Why does YouTube say both sides in this matter? What do you mean? Like, what is it that Jacksfilms specifically did that it was wrong? You know, why is he equally in the bad? What is it that Jacksfilms did that is equally as wrong as Sniperwolf literally doxing to her millions of fans on Instagram? Tell me, like, you can, this is not a scenario where you can both sides this matter. It's not like one side was kind of in the wrong. The biggest crime that Jacksfilms has done is just comment, putting out criticism, practicing his freedom of speech, or his First Amendment, if you will. There is nothing wrong what Jacksfilms has done. And clearly, it feels like the kind of response that what YouTube wants to do is to make sure that everybody can move on as soon as possible. In fact, like they were pretty open that this is their biggest goal. They want people to shut up about it so that YouTube doesn't get into any more trouble with the whole Sniperwolf controversy. Even the last sentence they said is hoping everyone helps move this convo to a better place. Well, where do you want us to move it, YouTube? Huh? Where do you want us to move this to? Because this is an important conversation to have, even if you don't like it. You know, where do you want us to move it to? And again, what is it that Jacksfilms did wrong to the point where you have to say that it's a both sides kind of issue? And not to mention that the worst thing about it is that this is not the first time that YouTube has done something about that YouTube did something like this, that they legitimately played favoritism to some of the biggest names on YouTube to avoid giving consequences to their creators, despite the fact that they have clearly broken their community guidelines and terms of services and stuff like that. Now, I know that YouTube does have a history of actually giving out proper punishment for actions outside of YouTube, that whatever bad thing that they would do outside of the platform, well, then they would punish them in the platform, rather it be demonetization or completely deleting their channel altogether. They have done that, but they also have a history of trying to make things slide and to ensure that their most prominent creators don't get punished as bad as some of the smaller ones out there. PewDiePie has a prominent history of breaking several rules on YouTube, and yet YouTube doesn't necessarily do that much in order to truly punish him. Or what is probably the greatest example out there is with Logan and Jake Paul. You probably know the infamous incident with Logan Paul, where he went to Japan and he filmed a dead body, which was considered a massive no-no on YouTube, and they didn't do much to actually punish him. Or another example is Jake Paul, who actually did a similar kind of controversy to what Sniperwolf actually did, where he actually doxed Post Malone on YouTube. Now, granted, it is true that Jake Paul heavily censored Post Malone's house to the point where we can't really see it, but still, he was doxing on YouTube's platform directly. And again, YouTube did next to nothing in order to actually go and punish them because they want to play favoritism. Again, they are aware that punishing those creators also means punishing YouTube itself. And you know that with YouTube, they prioritize money over everything else. They prioritize money over morals, any morals whatsoever, regardless if they're from the left or the right or anything like that. And they would prioritize money over the law, whether it be their own rules or even the law with the government. We all know that YouTube is so desperate to go and promote their work towards children. They want to go and sell advertisements to kids, despite the fact that it is illegal. And it has happened more than once that the US government called them out on it and that they had to pay a fine that is like billions of dollars. And that is why we end up with stuff like COPPA that is enabled on YouTube. So from this entire situation, honestly, it just makes me feel scared. It makes me feel worried about the precedents that this may cause. I'm just ultimately worried that with this entire scenario, that if YouTube keeps on doing what they are doing with Sniperwolf, that unfortunately, this will lead to a very dangerous standard where it would open the door that as long as you have over 10 million subscribers, or that you would make literally millions of views on a weekly basis or something like that, then YouTube will allow you to get away with a lot more than the average YouTuber would. Even if it means breaking the law. Hey, I mean, like, If you went and stabbed somebody or you sexually assaulted someone and you went to prison for it with all the proof in the world, hey, chances are if you make millions of views regularly, if you're one of YouTube's top creators, they're not going to go and do much. They're just going to wait until you come back so that everything is back to normal with monetization and everything, and happily go and promote your work. That feels like the dangerous standard that YouTube is putting up with this kind of favoritism, allowing allowing their creators to freely break the rules and not face the consequences whatsoever. And to make matters worse is that with this punishment that they are doing right now, it's really not that much, because right now SSniperwolf actually does have a bit of a loophole in order to avoid this monetization suspension. Because right now, it was recently called out that SSniperwolf has a second YouTube channel where she is uploading not just new videos, but even older videos in which that channel is actually monetized, in which she is actually making money off of her videos that she would re-upload or that she would just put up there. So really, it's not really that much of a punishment if there's like this easy loophole for both SSniperwolf and YouTube to find a way that they can actually go and make a profit off of. And that is something that I must say, that is why it is a concerning factor. And that is why people are calling out that this punishment is not enough, that what she has done, again, could be considered criminal, which is why it's not, which is why it would be considered logical to demand a permanent ban on monetization, or even just a full-on deplatform altogether. But it's just been so disappointing that YouTube would not want to go and take the action to actually give consequence to SSniperwolf. And again, this is something that I feel like it is essential to go and call out and to go and say that this is not okay. Because the more YouTube would go and let their creators get away with stuff like this, the more dangerous that it's going to become, and that they're going to normalize their behavior. They're going to say to their top creators, hey, it's perfectly fine to go and dox your critics. We're not going to go and do much. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about us. You won't be facing consequences from people like us. Maybe you'll get a lot of hate comments, but it's not going to do much to go and ruin your revenue or anything like that. No, honestly, again, this is something that needs to be called out more. This is something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be addressed so that YouTube can actually face the consequences as much as SSniperwolf. If they're like, for now, it just feels like YouTube is saying that they are okay with doxing as long as you're one of their top creators. And if they're going to be okay with doxing, then honestly, we should hold both YouTube and SSniperwolf accountable that they are pro-doxers. I'm just saying. And don't even get me started about that freaking apology that SSniperwolf made. Honestly, that doesn't sound like what a human being would say. Like, this stupid crap over here, this feels like something that was generated by AI. Like, she just wrote down something on ChatGPT and that she would put it up. Honestly, I've never even seen a video from SSniperwolf, and even I could say that this does not sound like something that she would say, or that any person would honestly say. So yeah, honestly, it's a frustrating and frightening situation that needs to be addressed, and that it needs to be discussed. And that the more we do talk about it, the more that we don't stop talking about it, the more likely that YouTube will end up doing the right thing. Because sadly, that seems to be the only way to force big companies like YouTube to actually do the morally right thing. Is to keep on never shutting up about it until they do so. All right, so with that said, I like to go into the chat wall, and I want to know what you think about this. What do you think about the whole SSniperwolf situation and how YouTube is addressing it? I would love to know your thoughts on that. All right, where's my mouse? Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. I'm dealing with two giant screens, so honestly, it was hard to navigate. Let's see. To YouTube, the both sides are in the wrong thing is SSniperwolf for doxing and Jacksfilms speaking up. Jacksfilms' crime is critiquing Star Wars and putting a target on himself. They are victim blaming him and trying to paint, maybe SW means something different. I don't know if it's like Star Wars. They are victim blaming him and trying to paint to the mainstream media that it's a stupid little tiff between YouTubers. Not that one YouTuber committing a crime that is endangering an innocent person. YouTube will prioritize YouTubers who are making the million+ subscribers. Screw anyone else. Yeah, that is sad. Yeah, that is sadly the situation. In fact, some could say the biggest crime that YouTube is committing right now, the biggest crime that Jacksfilms is committing right now is making YouTube look bad. That is the crime that Jacksfilms is committing, and why YouTube is seeing this as a both sides kind of scenario, is that they feel like, yeah, giving YouTube bad PR for them is as bad as SSniperwolf doxing. That could be the case. Let's see now. Or, oh, no, wait, SW means Sniperwolf. Okay, sorry. That's when you know you're too much of a geek. When you see SW and you realize, maybe that means Star Wars. No, it means something else. Silly me. Anyways, while I myself don't follow either of these people, this is honestly just insane. The fact that YouTube is more than willing to not give more consequences to Sniperwolf after what basically is doxing Jacksfilms is just awful. Seriously, I think this ultimately shows how YouTube only cares about money. Seriously, if YouTube didn't enforce more rules, Logan and Jake Paul's channels would have been deleted years ago. Oh, absolutely. There would have been a lot of prominent YouTubers that would not be famous today. Like, they would be canceled for sure. Like, not just Logan and Jake Paul, but I would even add, like, PewDiePie, for example. Like, he would have been out of the picture, like, years before he would even reach, like, 10 or even 50 million subscribers. But alas, YouTube is very lenient on its rules, where they allow their most prominent ones to break them as much as they want. Just so as long as you don't make YouTube look bad, you're free to do whatever stupidity you may wish. Let's see now. I've honestly never heard of Sniperwolf before this mess. I have no idea why people keep on subscribing to terrible people making generic content when there are far better content out there on YouTube. This is totally unfair for many content creators that make actual good content and not get enough attention because YouTube keeps promoting their bad creators that can potentially harm people. God, YouTube can be very stupid most of the time, but I do need it because I'm making decent money. Yeah, I mean, I know how you feel. Same here. I mean, it's my godforsaken job at this point. Oh boy, but yeah, it's just it's just very it's very dangerous. And again, we need to call out for what it is, where YouTube is enabling dangerous behavior such as doxing with this entire favoritism. The fact that there even is this kind of hierarchy that allows certain YouTubers to break the rules and even commit crimes without facing consequences honestly sets a very dangerous precedent. And you never know who's going to be the next big YouTuber who's going to be encouraged to go and do their piece of doxing, knowing that, well, if Sniperwolf doesn't face any consequences, well, neither will I. Let's see what else we got here. So basically YouTube has a bit of favoritism towards Sniperwolf instead one of the OG YouTubers that's been on the platform since 2006. Because with her having more subscribers means they get more money for them of her breaking copyright rules. And speaking of copyright, it is ridiculous how broken that system is, that so many reaction channels to movies, television shows, and music and video get all the views and subs, the ads, and the sponsors, and those are actually creative don't get all. And sadly, this is kind of like one of the unfortunate realities to why people like Sniperwolf are so famous right now. It's because of the fact that, really, it's not about making amazing content. It's about, it's about playing the algorithm game. If you know how the algorithm game works, then you would be golden. Then that's how you would go and make a career out of it, regardless if your content is like great or if it's a piece of crap. It's unfortunate, but honestly, this whole controversy really highlights a very serious problem with YouTube. And again, it's not the drama that I wanted to go and highlight. it's the problem with YouTube and how their favoritism can lead to some very dark and serious consequence. And mark my words, I think like if YouTube doesn't improve upon themselves, if they don't take action against Sniperwolf after this consequence, like if they don't take like even more like if they don't take more action against Sniperwolf, then honestly, I think things are going to get worse. And the next time we hear about a YouTube drama related to this, it's going to be much worse than just doxing. All right, but with that said, though, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon. Wait, excuse me. That's not what I wanted. That should do it for this episode of... Dang it. There we go. Of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure the title does come up. But anyways, thank you all so much for joining me on this. And thank you all for the reception of this new format and the new layout of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Obviously, it's not perfect so far, and there are a few things that I need to go and fix up. But I will for next time. I will go and try to improve upon it. So at least like I've taken some notes of what needs to be fixing, and I guarantee you they will be solved for next time. And with that said, if you would like more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then make sure to go and subscribe to the Twitch channel and to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. And also don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Google, iTunes, Amazon, and more. And with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for your amazing support over the years, and thank you for your support of the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And don't forget, once again, on Thursday, starting at 8 p.m., we will have the charity stream going on where I will play Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.